I had COVID-19. I'm completely recovered now. I thought I would tell you a little bit about my symptoms because they were unusual and my recommendations. First, my symptoms. I came home one evening after 3 days in a row of shopping in Alamogordo, and I had suddenly come upon me a mild head cold and a mild earache. My mild cold, it lasted about 2 days. My earache, though, continued for almost 2 weeks. November 22nd, I still have the mild earache, but the head cold's long gone. Suddenly, I can't smell anything whatsoever. And that made me think, oh my gosh, I'd better go get tested. And the only reason I knew that sense of smell might be a symptom is because I'd seen a physician on a morning talk show on TV say that he always tests out whether or not he can smell his coffee every morning as his little quick COVID test. When I had the loss of smell, that was sudden and dramatic and total. No warning, no gradual loss of smell, just boom. Couldn't smell a thing. That was on a Sunday, November 22nd, 10 days after my first illness of any kind, where the mild earache and the head cold with runny nose and then congestion started. Another symptom I had was utter exhaustion, and I did not recognize that could be COVID. This occurred the week before I lost my sense of smell. I am so exhausted, I don't even bring all the groceries in. I am too exhausted to unload all the groceries. I was so tired. And I distinctly remember thinking, gosh, I don't know if I can do this. Can I really live up here when I'm this exhausted? Well, it turned out that's a symptom of COVID. I didn't recognize it. The week before I lost my sense of smell, I had 1 day of loose stool. The other thing that happened was 9 days after I lost my sense of smell, I had a head cold come back, which I thought was very odd considering I was in quarantine. I hadn't been around people for 12 days. That cold only lasted 1 day. I'm not someone who normally gets colds anyway. Roughly 2 weeks after I lost my sense of smell, I began having loose stool again. That went on for 4 days in a row. I was thinking at the time, what on earth? I've been in quarantine, eating my home cooking, drinking my bottled water. Nothing had changed, but loose stool. And I don't call it diarrhea. This is not that. This is just loose stool about 4 times a day. Thankfully, then suddenly it stopped and has not returned. I consider myself completely recovered. Thankfully, my sense of smell is now completely back. When I lost my sense of smell, that really worried me. Would it come back? And I saw some things where doctors said, do smell training. Now, I have no essential oils at home, but I do have spices. So I began smelling, taking good strong whiffs of 4 or 5 spices a day, 3 times a day. Over time, I could smell something, then I couldn't smell it later that day. Then I could smell something, then couldn't smell it. But over time, slowly that sense of smell started to come back. I think the smeller training helped a lot. I like to think that. And I am so, so pleased that my sense of smell is back now. Here are my recommendations. First, in order to not be inoculated with a large amount of the virus, something that can help us a great deal is to wear a very good mask. Back in when this all first started, in February, I bought down at Harbor Freight Tools a lot of N95 masks and a couple of packages of dust particle masks. And I started off wearing the dust particle masks. I thought they were good enough. But I don't know if I didn't get COVID sometime in April. The only reason I say that is because suddenly I had a severe headache along with a constant dry cough come upon me, and it wouldn't go away. I actually had to take aspirin for the headache every 4 hours. The constant dry cough, all I could do is pray and ask God, please don't let this be COVID. Please heal me. And thankfully, I was healed. In 2 days, all of it went away. Totally. But I remember this sense of gloom thinking, oh my gosh, just a few days prior, I had been down in Alamogordo shopping. Was that COVID? I don't know. After this, though, I switched to using only N95 masks. They block 95% of the germs, so I figured that was pretty good. We're driving into Mayhill right now. Now, of course, I don't get out anywhere, and I don't get out here. I just wanted to show you all the Mayhill Cafe again. I have nothing to do with that place. I just want you to know this is the best home cooking on the mountains. I don't work there or nothing. I just like to brag on that place because I really, really like it. Places that are good, I brag on. Now, here's some place. Take a look at that crude, common, and ill-bred thing, the outhouse they have out in front of their motel. For a business to put such a crude, common, and ill-bred thing out right as people enter Cloudcroft, seeing that, I just think that's trashy as can be. Totally poor taste. If you look at this dash cam timer, you see that we've gone back in time now. We're back to November 17th. What I did is I went through my dash cam to see where all I've been, to see where I could have possibly gotten COVID. Now, here's my other recommendation. Don't do what I did. Don't go shopping day after day after day. Here we see I've gone to Harbor Freight Tools. And the N95 masks I got at Harbor Freight Tools back in February are NIOSH approved. Now, I do recommend for masks that you get NIOSH approved, NIOSH, NIOSH approved N95 masks, or the 3M elastomeric respirator with P100 filter cartridges. You can get that off of Amazon. It's also NIOSH approved. Another recommendation I have is to start taking vitamin D3 supplements. Only after I saw a study in February talking about its helpfulness with the immune system, specifically upper respiratory tract infection, and I thought, well, COVID's coming. I'm going to go get vitamin D and start taking it, so I did. There have been studies since then that have looked at vitamin D and COVID, and the more vitamin D you have in your body, the less severe your symptoms are with COVID, they're finding. I started off taking 2,000 IU a day, then I increased it to 3,000 international units a day. Now that I've had COVID and I'm done with that, now I'm back down to 2,000 IU a day. You'll see here in a second the kind I take. I got that at Walmart down in Alamogordo. The other vitamins are vitamins that I normally take. The one-a-day vitamin has 1,000 IU of vitamin D in it anyway. I don't recommend taking more than 4,000 international units a day. Things I have read say that can cause a problem. If you have some medical condition or are taking medicines for anything, talk to your doctor to make sure that vitamin D won't interfere with your situation. Probably won't, but talk to your doctor first. Another recommendation I have is for those of us who can, just go ahead and isolate yourself whenever you have any kind of illness. Because COVID, for a lot of us, is something so mild. Now, I never get an earache, and really the earache, it was a mild earache, but it was the most annoying thing about all of this, aside from losing my sense of smell. But the mild earache and the mild cold, I would have never thought was COVID, ever. The only time I thought I might have COVID is when suddenly, dramatically, just boom, I lost my sense of smell. I isolated myself. How many people do that in the United States? How many people can afford to do that? I have seen plenty of surveys in the past that say most Americans have essentially just a few $100s of maybe $1,000 in the bank, if that. You cannot tell people, hey, you have to stay home. You have to quarantine if those people cannot afford to do it. So if we, as a nation, want to combat a pandemic, we need to equip people to be able to stay home by sending them money directly, not make them jump through hoops, applying for help. I remember back in the spring hearing about a number of people who didn't get any money whatsoever. That's ridiculous. People should just get it directly paid to them, the way Canada does their citizens. Canadians get $2,000 a month per adult. That's what we should be doing for our country too. We have failed terribly in our response to this virus because we have not seen it for what it is. A war. A battle. And when you're in a battle, you go in fully armed and united. That's not what we've done. Instead, we've let a lot of people down in America by making them have to either break quarantine, not go into it at all, go into work sick when they should be staying home because they don't have sick leave. We have these things in our American economic system that need to change and get us up with the rest of the Western world. For one thing, guaranteed sick leave for everyone. That way, when you're sick, you can stay home, get well, take good care of yourself. You don't spread this COVID, nor would you be spreading anything else. We need to keep our community strong. We're not an island. Even I'm not. And I live so far away from other people. Right now, as I'm voicing over all of this, it's December 18th. For the last week or so, we've been losing more Americans daily to COVID-19 than we lost in the attack on September 11th, 2001. Right now, what they see is success. We know how to take those people down. That's what we've shown them. Division. Failure to see this as the battle that it is. Failure to arm our nation properly with the tools needed to fight this battle. We failed. And our enemies see this. We need to stop that and think of this with the same kind of passion that we had with World War II. If you don't have sick leave and you're sick, but you need to get to work, otherwise you don't have a roof over your head, you go to work. And for all I know, there was someone sick there at McDonald's making the burgers or serving them out the window. Who knows? It may not have been McDonald's. It could have been any other place where I went where there's sick employees. It's funny how in our country we call workers essential and make them go to work, and many of them are the poorest paid employees who do the grunt work that is obviously extremely necessary. But how do we treat them? We let employers rape them, figuratively, because our nation has not passed laws mandating paid sick leave from the day they start working, and a living wage. We need to change that. We've got to fight these battles as a nation by equipping everyone in the nation to be able to fight. Otherwise, the next pandemic, it's going to be the same slaughter. Many people have lost their businesses or lost their jobs. And when they've lost their jobs, they've lost their health insurance, which is ridiculous. We need national health insurance just like every civilized Western nation has. Look, Mad Jack's barbecue is closed. The lodge closed. Hopefully they'll be able to open up soon, because hopefully this pandemic will be defeated soon. But there's some months before all of us are vaccinated, so we still have to fight like HELL to stop this virus from spreading around. Look at this line at Walmart. New Mexico health orders required stores to not let more than 75 people inside of them. That resulted in huge lines at Walmart. Just a few weeks ago, huge lines at Walmart. I wound up standing in line for 1 hour and 15 minutes. For all I know, maybe that's where I got COVID. Even though I had an N95 mask on, there were, most people are not wearing those. Most people are wearing these flimsy masks, and half of them don't have their nose covered, and they're standing real close to you. They start off at 6 feet, and then they get a little bit closer, and you can't really back up or go forward without running into somebody. So you're just stuck there with all these other people and I'm there for 1 hour and 15 minutes. And then once I got into Walmart, I took my time. It seemed as if the store was empty, and I was in Walmart for at least another 2 hours. For all I know, I got the COVID in there from staying too long inside of the store. Thankfully, just the other day, New Mexico is now allowing Walmart's, Lowe's, and Home Depots to let 25% of capacity into the store, which has resulted in None of those ridiculously long lines, which in my opinion were COVID lines. So another recommendation I have is to do curbside pickup with groceries. I did it for the first time, my first shopping after I got out of quarantine. And it worked beautifully. Everything was fine. For when I have to go into a store, I will wear my elastomeric respirator, simply because I don't know if I could get COVID again. I don't know. I don't know if I got it, if I could spread it to someone else. I don't know. Since I don't know, I'd rather err on the side of caution. So that's what I'm going to do. I am very fortunate to have sailed through COVID as well as I did. At the same time that I had it, I learned that my next door neighbor in El Paso, my former next door neighbor, also was infected with COVID. But unlike me, he got very, very sick with it and had to be hospitalized. It was rough going for him. His wife and his adult daughters also became sick with COVID. Anyone interested in medical history? I am 61 years old, A positive blood type. I have a history of childhood bronchitis, as well as a spontaneously collapsed lung that occurred out of the blue when I was 9 years old. I remember that collapsed lung as if it happened last week. I know what it's like to feel like you're about to die because you can't take a breath, to be in pain with every breath you take, to not be able to take a full breath, to struggle to breathe, to suffer 24 hours a day, day after day after day. That collapsed lung absolutely is the worst thing I have ever experienced health-wise. It was ghastly. My heart goes out to anyone who suffers from breathing problems. I didn't know what all of that childhood stuff would do to my lungs now. The pediatrician said that I would outgrow it. And after I recovered from my collapsed lung, I no longer had bronchitis or any kind of breathing problem, and I did outgrow all of that. Another medical history for me is I did have extremely bad flu when I was 18. It was so bad I thought I was going to die. I had a week of fever before I had 3 days of the fever at 104 degrees. I was horribly sick. It took me a whole month to recover from that. That flu is called the Russian flu. It escaped from a communist lab and traveled the world. Who knows, perhaps my immune system in fighting that flu that nearly killed me was able to fight off the COVID so well so that I was very mildly symptomatic in comparison. More medical history. When I was 54, I got shingles. That should be renamed nails. It's what it feels like, nails being pounded into your skin. That was ghastly. Absolutely ghastly. And besides that, that's pretty much my medical history. I have had some flus since the Russian flu, and I did get quite sick with them, but nothing like the death feeling, just like I was going to die, like I did with the Russian flu. But maybe those things helped my immune system fight COVID. I don't know. Tragically, over 300,000 people in the United States have died from coronavirus, and many more around the world. All of you who have lost a loved one to coronavirus, you have my deepest sympathy. I know how hard it's going to be going through these holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and then just daily life without your loved one. It is ghastly. It's terrible losing a loved one to COVID. You're not even there to say goodbye. And I am so sorry that's your situation. My own husband died a number of years ago. Thankfully, I no longer grieve. It's been quite a bit of time, and I've learned to incorporate change in our relationship into my life. Death ends a life, but not a relationship. And really, death doesn't even end a life. My husband's gone out of his way many times through the years to try to get it through my head that he is still alive. And he continues to do that. That's one of the reasons why I no longer grieve. I know he's alive, and I know he's in heaven. That's comfort to me now, but had someone told me that back then when I was early, that would have been very cold comfort. You can't hear that. Right now, you just have to get through each day any way you possibly can. For those of us who can, let's think about our blessings this Christmas. I have many things I'm very thankful for that I thank God for daily. 2020 has been a very difficult year for our nation and for the world. We still have challenges in 2021. Thinking about our blessings will help us get through those challenges a lot better. For those of you for whom this Christmas is a black hole, I understand. Bye-bye.